Hello, it's Kathleen again, and welcome to Level Up Your English with that Kathleen Elise. So, today we're going to be talking about how to improve your English communication skills through storytelling, and this works really well speaking or writing. So, I'm going to walk you through 4 steps to take to prepare yourself. Now, this is going to take some practice before you put it into practice in the real world, but I think you're going to find that it's going to increase your confidence when you're speaking because you're going to know that you're creating something compelling and something that's going to draw your readers into your message and focus on the message more than your proficiency and your level of fluency. So I'm excited to talk about this one today. Before we do, though, if you're new here, what we do when I meet here, the reason I meet, if you're new, you're going to know that you're going to understand. I have naturally curly hair, and I'm always fiddling with it because it never wants to do what I'm asking it to do. And, the lighting, I notice things. But anyway, what we do here, the reason I come live twice a week, I come Mondays at midnight Eastern time. So when Sunday turns into Monday, I'm on like I am now, and then I come live again at noon or lunchtime again, Eastern time, so 12 in the afternoon, so that you can have a place to go that every single week I have a place to go to get my questions answered. So live from a native English speaker who's also a certified language teacher, or English teacher. Because it's super important, whether you're a student of English or whether you're a teacher. If you're a non-native English teacher, then there's always something you can learn to be a better teacher, to, improve your pronunciation, or, make sure that you're teaching things correctly. Because I've had many students who are teachers in their own countries and English teachers in their own countries. And, once we've had time together, either they've said to me, Kathleen, I've never learned this stuff in all of my years teaching and going to school for teaching. I've never learned any of this, or they just want to get better. And so whether you're a teacher of English or a student of English, it's just always great to know that you have some place to go to get your questions answered. There's just so many things to learn and so many things to know, and having that native source to go to is just super helpful. And I just want to be super helpful, so here I am. So all right, I think that covers everything. So that's why I come here twice on Mondays every single week. And so let's get started. All right. So you might be wondering, why storytelling? I just want to I just want to write an email, or I'm just trying to talk to someone in a coffee shop, or at a party, or in the office. Um, why do I why storytelling? I'm just trying to get things done. Well, storytelling comes into play. You don't have to use it all the time, but there are definitely situations where it's really handy if you're trying to show, if you have a message that you want to really get across and have people pay attention to, or if you are super good at what you do, but the language or your ability to communicate in another language, in English, is holding you back from showing and revealing your true gifts and your true expertise. And so storytelling is a great way to do it. And even if you're not actually telling a story, you can be structuring your communication, your letter, your email, your whatever it is, your written thing, or your spoken communication. You can be structuring it in a way that works like a story. It works with the arc, the storytelling arc is what we call it. And there are many different types of story arcs that you can use depending upon what your message is. And I'm not going to go through those all the details of them because we don't have time for that today. But if you just look up, do an internet search of either storytelling structures or storytelling arc, ARC, um, you'll find a whole bunch of them. There are just so many because there are different types of goals for certain stories. And so depending on your goal, you're going to structure it a certain way. Okay. So 4 tips here, 4 steps to take to structure your message in as a story, or with that same impact. Think about it. When you were a kid, when you were a child, and your parents read a story to you, if they did that, or maybe your teacher read a story in school, you were riveted. You just like couldn't get enough. And the more the teacher or your parents, the more stories they read, the better they got at doing it. And the more compelled you were to listen, you were drawn in. What's going to happen? You had to find out what was going to happen next. And so that's what you want to do with your messages, especially if you're trying to show your expertise or you have something important that you want people to pay attention to. That's what you want to do. So that's why we use this storytelling structure, the storytelling arc. So the first thing you want to do is, well, actually, there's 3 steps, and then the reason is the 4th item on my list. So we just went over the reason. You want to draw people in and take them on a journey, but a specific journey. So you're thinking of, what is the reason? So this is the first step. You want to think about your message, and you know you need to know what your end goal is. What is it that you need this communication, this letter, this email, this speaking time to accomplish? And then you're going to look at the big picture. All right. And I like to think of this as, I think of communication in this manner, particularly as weaving. So you've got your piece of fabric, your cloth, and you're weaving it. So, but you have to set up is it the weft and the warp? So one of them goes up and down this way and the other goes this way. I never remember which is which, but these are your structural pieces, the basic structure. And then everything else. So when you have the tapestry, you've got your structure set up. So those are your key pieces. Those are your key points that you need to make, the things that are going to secure your message, your tapestry, your big picture. And then all the other pieces of yarn or thread or whatever you're using, those all they have to go. They form a pattern. Think of a tartan or a checked pattern, a madras pattern. So certain things have to go in certain places at certain times in order for the pattern to develop, and then you have your overall picture. Okay. Or think of the tapestries on walls of, mansions or in museums or whatever. All those threads have to go in place in a particular place at a particular time to produce this overall result. And so that's what you need to think about. So you first want to look at what your goal is. And so that's your big picture. And then you want to look at, okay, what structural pieces do I need in here? You can also think of those, I'm sorry, my earpiece. You can also think of those as points on your map. If you're taking people on a journey, those key points that you need to hit, you need to know what they are. So then you can tell where you're taking people. But again, in the weaving sense, those would be your structural pieces. And then as you're weaving your message, your story here, you're answering those major questions that everybody needs to know and wants to know. If it's a business email, you need to know, okay, who, what, when, where, why, and how. All of those questions need to be answered for your client, for your manager, for your staff, whatever that is. You have to answer those questions so they know what's going on and how to get from A to B. So make sure that as you're structuring things, you're answering those questions. And I'll just say it again: the who's involved, what's going on, what are we talking about, when is all of this happening, why is it happening, where is it happening, and how is it happening, how does it all fit together, and why do I care, what, how am I involved? So those are all of the pieces that are going to go into your story, your structure here, your message. So you need to know what they are ahead of time. So then you can start weaving and you know where things go. And you really want to take your reader on a journey. So the basic storytelling, classic storytelling arc is you have your exposition where you expose or you introduce you introduce your message. So you give the basics, why am I here? Why am I writing? Especially in business, you need to make your major statement right up front. I'm writing to, tell you about XYZ project, that kind of a thing. So you expose what your journey is going to be about, and then you build up to your, you build up with certain points to your major point. And then you wind down with other minor points that bring you to the conclusion. So you're walking your reader or the listener through a process through a thought process that you need them to take in order to arrive at the final conclusion here. Okay. You're walking them through, giving them the information that they need in a particular order that's going to help them make the decision that needs to be made, whether it's for them personally or whether it's for business or, whether it's something you need them to do or something that in general needs to happen. There's a process that the reader needs to go through, the listener needs to go through, and you're just helping them not only go through the process in a smooth way, but you're helping them go through it in an orderly way. And what was the other word I was thinking? I'm sorry, my brain just shut down. you're helping them along, because there are many times, people, we get so much information thrown at us all the time, so much so that oftentimes we find it hard to sleep because we're still processing it, as we're sleeping. How many times have you lain awake at night because there's so much that you're trying to think about? Okay, so this way, by using the arc, the storytelling process, the story, just that whole concept, and the science behind it, I guess, is really what we're doing here. You're helping your reader, your listener, to process it as it's happening so that they can come to whatever conclusions or make whatever decisions they need to make so much more easily and quickly, okay, than if you just didn't have a structure to it, if it just wasn't structured. And that's all I can think of is because if it doesn't have a structure, it can't hold up. Again, you think of a building with a structure. Your fluency, we've talked about laying the foundation with learning your sounds and mastering the sounds and mastering the patterns and things like that. Well, now that you've done that, you're going to do the same thing with how you deliver your message. Okay. This is another part of fluency, um, versus just proficiency. Again, proficiency, the stuff you're tested on, so many people have to take specific exams to certify that they are indeed proficient in English, or, um, you know, uh, proficient in English. But the fluency comes with your ability to utilize your communication skills in that in that language's cultural mindset, okay, which is the fourth step, okay. um, so you've got your message, you've got your big picture, you know what all your pieces are, and you know where they need to go. Then you're going to plug them into the journey. You're figuring out which journey you need to take your readers on or your listeners, and then you're filling in the spaces so that you're creating that journey for people. Then, as you're creating that journey, maybe I should have put uh, the last one. I'm going to switch these around on uh, the next time I come live at noon. I'm going to switch them around because before you actually fill in that arc, you need to keep in mind the cultural aspects of your message. And for example, what is the cultural situation in which you're going to be delivering this message? Are you delivering it, is it spoken? Is it written? Are you delivering it in a formal, a casual, or an informal situation? Formal, informal, casual. Are you delivering it, um, in a business situation? That's very different than an. It's different. So if you're in the office, are you delivering your message? So there's a whole environment in the business world, and then there are those other levels. There's the formal. So are you delivering this message to a board of directors or to clients, in a more formal situation? Are you delivering it to your manager? Are you delivering it to the person in the cubicle next to you, who's someone who's on the same level or a lower level? So is it a casual? Are you delivering it are you just talking to people in the cafeteria, or, in a social situation after work, or is this in a meeting? So there's all those things to consider, and each one of those things has certain cultural expectations. And you want to take this into consideration because your native English speaking person who's receiving this message, because of their culture, expects the message to be delivered in a particular way. So you have to keep that in mind as you're structuring. It's okay to change things up a bit, but it's still in order for the native speaker to fully and effectively receive and process and welcome your message, you have to give it to them in a way that they're going to be able to receive it. If you try to deliver a message that's meant for an English speaking audience in a way that you would in your own culture, the person that you're speaking or writing to is not going to have any references. They're not. It's going to be different, and they're not going to be able to. It throws up a barrier because they're not familiar with that. So you need to think about how are they most able to receive your message, and that's where the cultural end of things comes in, and this is where you really begin to accelerate your fluency, because again, you can know all the grammar in the world, all the English grammar there is to know, and you can be fantastic at it. But if you don't know how to apply it within the cultural context, if you're still trying to apply all of this English grammar knowledge within the realm of your own culture, you've stopped the fluency from happening, because the person that you're speaking to, the native English speaker that you're speaking to, isn't going to understand it. And if there's no understanding of the message that you're trying to communicate, there's no communication. So this is why I'm so passionate. This is why I've built the 4 pillars of 360-degree fluency in English, because it's not just one-sided. It's not just, grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, speaking. It's not just that. There's this whole cultural context, and there are so many levels to the cultural context that you have to be able to flow in and out of. Fluency, the word to be fluent, or the concept of to be fluent, comes from fluid. And actually I'm posting a definition of it on I'll be posting it later today, just so that people can understand that it's not just robotic memorization of the rules and regulations. There's so much involved, and this is why I'm so passionate, because just, again, so many times the communication stops or struggles because, again, we're thinking in our native language, trying to project all of our native references into a culture that has no reference. And so this is where the struggle comes. And why should we struggle? There's no reason for us to struggle to communicate when there's an easy fix. It's a simple fix. It takes effort, and it takes a lot of practice. So this whole storytelling thing, you need to practice this first, and before you launch it into the world. But the more you do it, the better off you're going to be, and you're going to find that you have so much more confidence in yourself, because you're going to know that your message is not just being heard. We can I can talk all day long, as the saying goes, till I'm blue in the face. But if I'm not effective in the communication, then there's no point. But the more I talk, the better I'm going to get at it. So, again, you all know I'm learning Korean, and I bring this up every time because my language struggles are important for you to hear as well. And what I did today was I've been away from it for a little while, and so I did need a refresher. But I thought I'm gonna look at a new teacher because the one that I've been learning from is fabulous on so many levels, but this teacher is not a native Korean speaker. So I I'm taking my own advice, and I'm trying to learn the native sounds, and the way this teacher structured the learning process makes more sense to me in the way that I learn. And it's interesting because this particular teacher is teaching the way I've been saying you should learn. Learn your sounds first. Forget about the alphabet, forget about everything else. Master the sounds first. And so that's what this teacher did. So I've spent the entire day today, a good, I don't know, 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours. Just listening to the sounds, mastering the sounds, going through the Korean alphabet sound by sound, not necessarily focusing on the letters first. I did eventually get to that. And then again, this teacher walked through the sounds first, then related the sounds to the symbols, and then showed how to put the symbols together to make words. And that was it. Um, she didn't go through definitions yet. It wasn't a vocabulary lesson. It was, you know, getting you familiar with the basics and setting the foundation of your structure so that it's going to hold up forever. And I really needed that today, and I'm so much better with my pronunciation, just my replication of the sounds. I do this because when I think of sounds, I think of hearing, and so I'm hearing the sound. Um, so it was just a fabulous exercise. And so now that you're to the point where you can really think about your messages and how you're going to present them, now that you're at that level, you're going to have to, these are your foundational steps to do it. And so you're going to have to practice. And again, because this is a much more, not much more advanced, but it is more advanced than just, doing your simple sentence structures. You're crafting a message here. And as a writer, this is dear to my heart. I love writing. I love storytelling because each one of us has a story to tell, at least one story. Our lives are one big story made up by all these other stories. And so I think it's important to be able to communicate that story effectively and in a way that shows people, whoa, this is a special story. It may or may not be an original story. It may have been told a million different times throughout history, but it's never been told this way. And it's never been experienced by this person. And this person happens to be you. So it's just, to me, those stories are so necessary to be told. The world needs to hear more of these personal stories and these and to see individual people in this powerful light, because taking someone on this, communicating your message in through this storytelling arc, um, through this process of taking someone on a journey, is so powerful in so many ways. It's powerful in business. It's powerful, um, just in learning. And it's powerful in connecting. And again, that's what communication is all about. Whether you're trying to connect with, you know, the person who's crossing the street and the car is coming, you have to connect with them effectively, or else tragedy happens. And so anyway, it's just so important, and I think you can see why I love it. So, and maybe to get yourself motivated, go find a story that you think is interesting. One of the ways I pick out the next book to read is I just go through the library or the bookstore and I read the titles. I just read the titles. I don't even read the backs of them. I don't read the descriptions of the stories. I just read the titles. And the title that jumps out at me is the one that I read, because obviously that, however they phrase that title, said something to me where I am at that particular moment in my life. That's the one I think I need to read. And so yeah, I hope this helped. I know I feel as though I wandered a little bit. So let me just recap. So the reason that we're talking about um, the story arc and using storytelling um, techniques when you're trying to communicate is that you want to draw people in. You want to grab hold of them right away, and in that says, hey, this is an important message, pay attention. And then you want to take them on this journey. And the journey isn't just to, wander through, oh, isn't this a delightful little scene? The journey is to help them process your message, to get them to see the bigger picture, to see that result that you want them to see. And maybe that result is giving them information, but you're giving them the information that they need, not only in a creative way that says, oh, wow, this is different than the, 20,000 reports I've had to read. You're giving them the information in a way that compels them to listen, helps them to process, and also gives them something of value and of depth in their day. Okay, that the creativity that's required here really wakes people up and makes people notice. And, again, especially in the business world, who doesn't want to be noticed for something positive? Who doesn't want to be noticed for all of the value that you bring and your expertise and stuff? So there's so many reasons why this is a great way and an important skill to learn. So you want to think about your overall picture and get all of your pieces in place, your main ideas, the key points that you need to make, and those are going to be the stops on the journey. Okay. And then you want to, before you put this journey together, before you weave this tapestry, you want to think about all of the cultural pieces that are going to be involved so that you can weave it properly. An invitation to a wedding is structured differently and has different information in it than calling someone up, say, hey, do you want to come over for pizza and a movie? So it all plays into it. And then once you have all your pieces together, then you can plot out your journey. Then you can figure out what they need, in what order they need to receive it in order to be able to draw them in, and then gently bring them up to the climax there, and then bring them down gently to the conclusion. So I hope this was really helpful. Yeah, it's just I could really go on. And I'm finding that more and more every time I come live, I keep finding that I could talk more and more and more about it. I could talk all day about it. So, give it a try and let me know how it worked out right in the comments. Tell me how it worked out and ask me any questions. Again, that's why I'm here. All right. I'm here for you. I want you to succeed and I want you to have fun doing it. I want you to experience the beauty of learning to communicate in an entirely different way than what you're used to, and being able to communicate to however many people around the world speak this new language, okay? And that's another reason I'm excited to learn Korean, because it's a it's absolutely the opposite of how I'm used to doing things. And so it's exciting, even though it might be frustrating at times, but it's exciting. So, anyway, I hope you had a great day today, and I hope you will have a great day if you're just starting out. And join me at noon if you can. Again, that's Eastern time. And because these are live, oftentimes you'll get the same, I have the same target information, but again, it's live, and so different things pop into my head. So there's always different ways of explaining the information, and that might help you even more. So, and many of them have turned into two-part series because I found I couldn't possibly cover it all in just one half hour. So, all right. So we'll see you. If not at noon, we'll definitely see you next week. All right. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.